You're listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast with Maggie Green, episode number 393.
Welcome to the Cookbook Love Podcast, a podcast that celebrates cookbook readers, buyers, collectors, writers, and clubs. And now your host, cookbook author, culinary dietitian, and cookbook writing coach, Maggie Green.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. How's everybody doing today? I am squeezing in the recording of this solo show for you on a Friday morning in March, and my beloved Kentucky Wildcat basketball team is playing basketball at 1 o'clock. There's going to be a pregame radio show, and I coincidentally have some cooking to do for St. Patrick's Day dinner that I'm hosting. So I decided to get this podcast recorded so I can head to my kitchen and cook some corned beef, prepare a salad. We're going to have soda bread. We have Guinness, Harps. I think we also have Smithwick's, some NA Guinness. If you like NA beer, the NA Guinness is really good. And I'm excited to cook and listen to the radio and then watch UK play basketball. March is a great month. Spring starts. We have March Madness for basketball. We have St. Patrick's Day. 2 of my children were born in March. And actually, one of my children's fiancé is also born in March. So it always feels like a wonderful month of celebration here. And as many of you know, I just came off the launch of opening a new cohort for Get Paid to Get Published. The doors are currently closed, but if you're interested in getting on the wait list, I'll put a link below in the show notes. But I want to share with you something that came as a result of the launch that I did. Part of what I do when I launch and open the doors for Get Paid to Get Published is I start a conversation with the people who are on my email list or responding to me on social media about what is holding them back from becoming a cookbook author. And I want to talk specifically today about becoming a paid cookbook author. And this could pertain to people who want to get paid in advance from a publisher. They want to self-publish and earn money off their book and writing through self-publishing. And even if you hybrid publish your book and you invest in publishing, you still obviously want to become a paid cookbook author because you want people to buy your books. So I'm going to share with you the number one thing I heard in my conversations with people while I was launching regarding cookbook writing and becoming a paid cookbook author. And this is not a marketing tactic. It's not a social media strategy. It's a foundational thing that is going to make everything else work to help you get paid as a cookbook author. Because what publishers want to know, and even what hybrid publishers would help you try to see, and what you need to know as a self-published cookbook author is how are you going to know if people are going to buy your book? Not how many followers you have, but can you prove that people are going to open up their wallets and purchase the book? So today I'm going to answer that question with what I call the 3R method. And at the end of the episode, you're going to understand why this is truly a game changer that separates aspiring authors and people who get paid as cookbook authors from someone who stays stuck and never gets to the point where they're writing books and they're getting paid for them. So let's dive in. And I want to talk specifically about cookbook deals, but just remember that this again can cross over to self-published authors and to people who hybrid publish because you're all going to need to sell books. But when it comes to cookbook deals, the dominant narrative out there is that we have to build a massive following on social media. We have to get on every social media platform. We have to post content every day. We need to hit a magical number, and then you'll be ready to approach publishers. So what happens is a lot of people get into the hustle, or they post, or they chase the algorithm, and they try to go viral, and they spend a ton of time comparing themselves to people who have huge platforms. And the truth of the matter is that when it comes to your cookbook, then it really just stays stuck in your head because you're focused on the wrong thing. You're focused on the number of followers instead of focusing on relationships. And by followers, I mean people that are just following you versus people who could become ready readers. And that's what I want to help you fix today. So my 3R method calls for, it's 3 parts: relationships that are ready to become readers. So relationships, ready, and readers. So relationships means that these are not just people that are following you. What I have learned in my years of running programs and selling books and marketing programs and cookbooks is that the foundation of any successful business include getting paid to write your cookbooks and getting paid for writing your cookbooks is relationships. Marketing is all about relationships. In one of my programs that I have been in, the foundational number 1 module is to grow my audience. It's not about more people, it's about growing deeper connections with the people we already have. And when you think about it, would you rather know that you have 50,000 random people who just scroll past your post, or would you rather have 500 or 1,000 people that know you and trust you and would buy your cookbook from you? So the answer is obvious. Publishers love people who are going to buy cookbooks. They care about engagement. They want to know, do people actually care about what you have to say? And the only way that we can really prove this to a publisher is through relationships. So remember, you're building relationships with people. You're not just building the number of followers that you have. Your success in your cookbook writing is built on relationships. And when we self-publish, we may be really good at creating a product, which is a book. We can do it on KDP. I teach people to do it all the time. I'm finishing up a course in that as well, where my readers are finishing that. But the success of their sales is going to be built on relationships. So number 2 is ready. Do these people who are your relationships that you've built, do they know who you are? Do they trust your expertise? Do they love what you have to offer? Would they buy a cookbook from you the minute it's available? Remember, they're not just casually following you, they actually know you, and they trust you, and they like you. And here's the difference. The followers just scroll by our post, but people who are ready to purchase something from us save the work that we do. They cook the things that we offer to them. They might tag you in a post. They ask questions. They tell their friends about you. And I can tell the same is true for people who are engaging with me related to writing a cookbook because they respond to my recipes. They ask me questions. They share posts when they've published cookbooks from just listening to this podcast. They tag me in those posts. They thank me for the work. These people are ready to become paid authors, just like your readers are ready to become cooks and bakers in their own kitchen. So we want people that are actually engaging with what we do and who know who we are, trust what we do, like what we have to offer. So that's really the question. If you were to pitch a cookbook to a publisher, they're going to ask about your audience. So this is something you're going to have to address. And you could say, I have 10,000 Instagram followers, but behind that, what they really want to know is how many of these people might actually buy the book. That's the ready question. And here's the beautiful part. You really don't need thousands and thousands of ready readers to get a cookbook deal. You need several, you need a lot, but you don't need thousands and thousands. I've seen authors, passionate home cooks, get cookbook deals and get cookbooks published with a deeply engaged readership that is not as big as you might think it needs to be. But the ready readers are proof that your cookbook is going to sell because they know who you are and they like you and they trust you. So that's the second R, is ready. Not random people, but ready people. And the third is readers. These aren't just fans. These are people that read and engage, again, with what we do. And since we're selling books, I call these people readers. They read your emails. They read your blog posts. They read your Substacks. They read your recipe head notes. They like your stories. They engage with your words and not just your photos. So you have to, and you want to engage people with words. That's why I believe for building your platform, anything that you can do to write more is so important to prepare you for writing a book. The photography and the layout and the design is not what skills you need to hone for book deals. You need to hone the skill of writing and communicating with people through words. And again, I mentioned several of those just a minute ago: writing emails, writing blog posts, writing a Substack newsletter, writing recipe head notes, writing stories, words. And the readers in your audience will read your words. And readers are what publishers want because readers buy books. So I think we have to stop thinking like influencers with just pretty photos, viral reels, and follower counts. Although those things will attract people into your audience that will get them maybe to pay attention to you, but start thinking like an author who tells stories and connects with readers through words that resonate with them. Because at the end of the day, we're not trying to become influencers. We're trying to become paid cookbook authors, and that requires readers. So the third R is the reader part. We want readers who engage with our words and not just with our photos. So you may be thinking, okay, great. Relationships, not just followers, ready people, not just random people, and readers, not just fans. How do I identify who my ready readers are right now? If you have an audience of people, I want you to grab a piece of paper or open a note on your phone and ask yourself these questions. Number 1, who is asking me for my recipes or for my stories? Write down everyone who's asking you for those two things. Number 2, who cooks my recipes or bakes my recipes and tells me about it and has to report the results to you? I don't know if this has happened to you. It happens to me all the time. People cook something out of my cookbook and they feel compelled to tell me about it. Usually if that gets great results and it causes some sort of change in the way their family sees them as a cook. But I also hear from people who make my recipes that maybe did not get good results, but at least they'll want to have a conversation about it and I can help them to get better results. Who shares my content or my books, or who shares your content or your books or your blog posts or your newsletters or your classes with their friends? You know, when people start to tell their friends about you, this is huge because that's how cookbooks and people's content and classes get shared, is when you change someone's life with your work and they want to tell people about it. I've talked about this before on the podcast, but this is true with even products that we might buy that really are life-changing for us and allow us to have a result in our life that we find wonderful and we want to tell people about that product. I had a situation with this just recently. I often thaw out for dinner something to cook for dinner. It might be a piece of fish or some ground beef, or maybe it's a pork chop, something that we're going to quickly cook for dinner with some vegetables on the side. And I have a thawing tray, which is this aluminum tray that I set on my kitchen counter, and it thaws whatever it is that we need to thaw quickly, because I usually keep a stock of a variety of things in my freezer that I can pull out to cook for dinner. Makes it really quick and easy. But the thawing tray is the secret. So I've started telling people about this thawing tray, and I bought it for gifts for people, and it's really a life-changing little piece of aluminum that sits on your kitchen counter to thaw things quickly. So that's an example of a product that I've shared with people. And so people start sharing your content with friends, telling their friends about you, you kind of get a little bit of a buzz going. I also want you to think about who engages with the blog posts that you write. emails that you write, and stories that you tell. Maybe you write for a print publication. Maybe you get responses from readers. Who's engaging with those kinds of words? And who do you think, if you were to scroll through your contacts in your phone, for example, who do you think would buy a cookbook from you the day that it actually launched? Who could you invite to a launch party and they would be so excited and probably buy a copy or two of your book? I want you to write those names down of those people, because these are actual people. And I bet you have ready readers already in your life. They're asking you for recipes, they're making your recipes, they're sharing your content, they're engaging with you, or they would buy your book the day it was launched. These could be family and friends. They could be people from your cooking classes. They could be followers who consistently engage with you. They could be email subscribers who always reply. And they could be people in your life who are asking you, hey, Maggie, when are you writing a cookbook? Or when are you writing your next cookbook? These people are your foundation. And you need to start with the people you already have. So if you haven't done this yet, please make this list this week, because often we forget that these people are in our life. Now, regarding people and family and friends who love your cooking, I suspect there's a lot of those. And I suspect there's also people who have asked you, when are you writing a cookbook? But if you don't have people who take your classes, or who consistently engage with your words, or who subscribe to your email, it's probably because you're not teaching classes, you don't put yourself out there on social media, or you don't have an email list. And just remember that those types of connections and communication with people, publishers love that because it helps us to build relationships. So I encourage you to create a life where you're teaching, helping people cook, helping people bake, getting followers consistently on social media, and also building an email list. All of those things are foundational for attracting people to you and starting to build this foundation. But these ready readers that you already have, I think you need to really acknowledge them, write a list of them, keep track of them, and know that they are already there. The second thing to do then is to deepen relationships. And this ties into what I just said before. If you don't have an email list, start one. This is the number one way to build relationships with people. Email is direct, it's personal, you own it, it's not based on an algorithm. You can send weekly recipes, stories, behind the scenes, weekly emails to your email list. Email is how I predominantly launch my cohorts of Get Paid to Get Published, and how I welcome new people into my program, generally through my email list. So start and build an email list. Number 2, engage in conversations. If people comment on something you have written, reply. If they send you a DM, reply. Ask questions so that they actually listen and they reply. When you reply to them, it makes them feel seen and heard, and people like that. I spend 3 or 4 weeks before I launch my program sending emails, asking people to reply, engaging in questions and answers with people, and really helping people to understand what it might take to get a cookbook deal. And these conversations matter. And I have a list of people that I engage with in email back and forth. And I know people that listen to this podcast I engage with in conversations because you write me emails. This is where the reality of people behind our emails really makes a difference. So if someone starts a conversation with you, please reply and finish it. Number 3, invite them into your process. Share your cookbook journey with them. Ask them for their input. What recipes might you want to see if I wrote a book? Make them feel like they're part of creating this product with you. And number 4, be generous. Serve them the best. Give away your best recipes. Share your knowledge freely. Build trust through value, because if they think, well, she gives this much stuff away for free, I can't imagine what it's like to be someone who buys a book from her, then that is exactly what you want people to think. You want to serve them generously. And the more you give, the more you build relationships with people. And this is how you turn those random followers into ready readers. And then the third thing we have to do is we need to actually be able to prove to a publisher that we have readers. So start writing regularly if you're not writing regularly. Substack is a great place to start if you haven't built a newsletter yet. You could write a blog post, or you could send email newsletters if you already have an email list. But just pick one and start. You can write about food, you can write about recipes, you can write about stories, you can write about your cooking journey. And then I want you to track the engagement and see if people are reading. Are they replying and are they sharing? There are ways with email lists to know those kinds of things and to keep track of those. I know from my email list, the people that open, that's kind of tricky these days with Apple privacy, but I know people who open. I know people who clicks links in my emails. I know people who reply. I know people who unsubscribe, which is perfectly fine. That just means it's not for them at this time. But really track the engagement of the people that you're working with. And try to do more than just sharing recipes. Publishers want to see that you can actually write a story, a narrative with a beginning, middle, and an end. And this gets you to practice your voice, put your work out there, share the why behind your recipes is really one of the best ways to tell a story. Why this recipe? What might be in it for them based on the experience that you've had with it. And then you also want to build proof of engagement for publishers. They like this too. You can screenshot comments, replies, shares, collect testimonials, because this proof of engagement is something you can talk about in your cookbook proposal when it comes time to actually talk about the audience that you have. Because this is what you're going to use when you pitch publishers. If you say something like, I have 500 email subscribers, there's an open rate of 45%. They love to engage with emails that I send about chocolate chip cookies, or you can say whatever you want. Of course, you all knew I was going to say cookies. That's more powerful than saying I just have 10,000 Instagram followers, because what you're doing is you're putting an engagement number on it. So if you're not writing regularly somewhere, I suggest you pick a place and commit for 90 days to one platform where you can consistently, regularly write and share with people who need to hear from you. So why does this all work? The 3R method, relationships with ready readers. Because when you pitch a cookbook to a publisher, they'll ask you, who are you writing this book for? And you'll be able to answer them. And they'll say, how do you know they want to buy your book? And you'll be able to answer them because you have proof of engagement. And the third thing is can you actually write? And you can answer, yes, here's examples of my blog posts, my newsletters, my recipes, my stories. You see how all that works together? You're not just saying I have followers. You're saying I have relationships with people who trust me. I have ready readers who I know are going to buy the book. And I have readers who engage with my words. That's what gets you a book deal. And that's what gets you into the world of being a paid cookbook author. So I want you to start thinking that your goal is to deepen relationships with people you already have, identify and serve the ready readers that you have, and keep people engaged. Ask them for their engagement and respond to them, because this really does change everything. It goes from thinking you just need to be on every platform, or you need to go viral, or you need more followers, to really creating something of depth. And here's what happens when you do this. When you create something of depth in relationship with people that are already there, you're going to stop feeling overwhelmed. You're going to stop comparing yourself to other people. You're going to stop waiting to feel ready, because you are taking action in your life with the people who are already in your life. And that's the beautiful part of this, is when we focus on relationships with ready readers, everything gets easier. Pitching becomes easier because we have proof. Writing becomes easier because we know who we're writing for and we're already writing. And marketing becomes easier because you're serving people who already love you. And you're not starting from zero. You're starting from where you are with the people who are already in your world. That is the power of my 3R method. So let's do this. This week, action step number 1 would be to make your ready reader list. Write down 20 to 50 people who would buy your cookbook tomorrow. These are real people that you know. They're your ready readers. They are out there and you have them. Number 2, pick one relationship building platform to work on for the next 90 days. If you already have an email list or a Substack or a blog, be sure you're committed to it. And if you are, and it's a regular thing you do, then maybe it's time to add another relationship building platform. If you don't, then you need to pick one and commit to it and stick to it. And then number 3, for your ready readers, maybe send them a personal message. Thank them for their support. Ask them about what they'd like to see in the cookbook that you're writing and start to deepen relationships with them. This doesn't have to take over your whole life, but it will change your life because you're building more relationships. And that's the number one thing that you can do to become a paid cookbook author. It's everything. It's what publishers love to see. It's what helps you get paid to get published. So here's my challenge. Quit chasing followers. Build relationships with people. That is it for today's episode of the Cookbook Love Podcast. This is your host, Maggie Green. And until next time, have a great day and keep loving your cookbooks.
Thanks for listening to the Cookbook Love Podcast. You can find out more information at www.cookbooklove.co.